Boom. Let's see if we can find some people can show up right now. Assalamu alaikum. Congratulations, Ashik. Good job. You made it, brother or sister. Let's wait for some more people, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Brother, you're a guy. I understand now. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You like the thumbnail? Yeah, I was getting a little creative. I actually, I've had a hiccup for the past couple of weeks, so I've been unable to post or do anything. And I actually have some time right now. Just finished my workout, and I'm having my amazing shake. Blueberries, yogurt, honey, and some other good stuff. North Carolina. Assalamu alaikum. North Carolina. How are you guys? I know I did not even post that I was going to be showing up on live stream, and I've been actually thinking about this circumcision thing for the past couple of weeks since the last live stream, and I would like to share with you guys my thoughts concerning this particular topic. Who has corona? No, I got allergies, but not corona. Alhamdulillah, inshallah. All right. Salam, brother Noah. I hope you guys don't mind if I enjoy a drink while I'm talking to you. So, by the way, this live stream may or may not be posted depending on how well I do this. I was actually thinking of putting up a video, an actual formal video, but I figured this might be a better, well, I'm gonna try it. This might be another way to kind of interact with you guys concerning specific topics, such as this one, the circumcision topic. Yeah, I'm not in the park today. I decided to just, I'm at work right now. So, we're working from home. So, yeah. Well, I wanted to talk to you guys about the topic of circumcision. Okay, let me try to fix this. Regarding circumcision, okay? First things first, I think I should start doing this in my live streams, is put up a disclaimer. Everything that I present in my videos reflects my personal understanding of the Quran, and the research is always continuous. So, the information, the knowledge that I share may change in light of new information. Okay, so let's begin, inshallah, with the topic of circumcision. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So in the last live stream, we talked about, somebody brought up the topic of circumcision, okay? And it resonated with me, it triggered me to kind of start looking into it a little bit more. And so I did my research. I started reading some articles, reading comments, videos, yada yada. And I would like to share with you my thoughts concerning this particular topic. I think it's important to point something out, okay? Now, the first thing I want to mention, and this is probably the most important thing to mention. First of all, can you guys hear me? I want to make sure the audio is good. Okay, great. Okay. So, concerning circumcision, the first thing I would like to mention, okay, and it's the most important thing to mention, is that last time in the live stream, I've seen people throwing the word haram around. Circumcision is haram, okay? And I find that the usage of this particular term for these types of things is haram in of itself, okay? We need to be extremely careful, extremely cautious when using terms like haram, prohibited, unlawful, forbidden, okay? Because the difference between us and the traditional Muslims is that in traditional Islam, they have hundreds and hundreds of fatwa books meaning Islamic jurisprudence, in which they'll have a slew of haram things and halal things based off of the Quran and the Hadith. We do not want to replicate that. As Quran alone followers, we adhere to what the Quran says. And in the Quran, like in Surah 16, verse 116, by the way, you guys are online, so please access your Qur'ans if you want to follow along, inshallah. Surah 16, verse 116. And do not invent lies about God by attributing lies with your tongues, saying this is lawful and this is forbidden. Those who invent lies about God will not succeed. So in the Quran, God warns us over and over not to prohibit something that is not specifically prohibited in the Quran. And I have a couple of videos about the whole thing, to forbid or not to forbid, okay? So we need to be extremely cautious when we declare something as haram. We don't want to be like the muftis, okay? We want to take extreme caution and say that what is prohibited is clearly laid out in the Quran. And if you interpret certain verses from the Quran to mean something that is prohibited, or you extracted from this verse that something is prohibited, you need to make that very clear and actually preface it by saying, this is based off of my understanding. And what's even to be even more safe, we actually, if a person concludes that circumcision is haram, even though it is not mentioned clearly in the Quran, okay? It's not mentioned as a haram thing in the Quran, but you concluded it's haram, that is between you and God, and you need to keep it that way. You see the difference? It's different when you say circumcision is haram, okay? It's no different than a mufti saying gold and silk are haram for men. Or anything like that. It's no different than that. So we need to be extremely cautious. We're not going to replicate traditionalism, okay? So the first thing to note here is that circumcision is not mentioned in the Quran, and therefore it is not our place to call it haram, to label it haram, okay? Now, what's interesting along the lines of the whole topic of haram, okay, is that amazingly, you can, at least for me, I have encountered, because I've been doing this for a long time. I've been studying the Quran, and I met a lot of people throughout my life while researching the Quran. I've met a lot of Quran alone followers. And it's interesting to see that even they themselves are muftis for themselves. Okay, one guy that I met once upon a time told me that dyeing your hair is haram according to the Quran alone. What? Why? Well, because according to Surah 30, verse 54, when you grow old, your hair is supposed to turn gray according to the Quran. And if you dye your hair something that is not gray, or you're changing the color of your natural hair, then you are violating what God is dictating naturally for you. So you can see here that, okay, fine, if this person finds that dyeing your hair is haram, okay, then that should be between him and God. But to declare it, to say, you guys should not dye your hair because it's haram, that is extremely bad, spiritually speaking. It's very bad. Okay, so I hope you guys are seeing the difference here, okay? And it's interesting. While I was going into this, some people, while I was going into this, I actually was able to invent prohibited categories according to the Quran. I can make my own list. I can be my own mufti. For example, according to the Quran, it is haram to be buried above ground. Okay, this is according to Surah 5, verse 31. We see a raven scratching the soil to help bury one of Adam's sons into the ground. This means we need to bury ourselves in the ground. If you are buried above the ground, like in a tomb, or you're cremated, or you're buried in the ocean, it's haram. It's very easy to make up a list. I can give you something else. I can tell you what's also haram is working at night, having a job at night. Why? Because the Quran continuously tells us that the nighttime is made for rest. Okay? It's made for the salah sessions and rest. That's what the night is made for. And the daytime is made for working. So I can go ahead and make a list for you of what is haram according to the Quran. But of course, we're not doing that. I'm just showing you how easy it is to be a mufti and start saying things are haram and halal left and right, okay? So my bottom line is, it is not our place to innovate prohibitions, okay? This is not something that is easy. Easy in the sense, easy on our salvation. It's one of the biggest sins, in fact, to invent lies about God, just as God has said in Surah 16. So to me, I would like to mention now that I do find circumcision to be barbaric, unwarranted, not needed. It tortures the baby. Yes, I don't agree with circumcision, but I will never say it's haram. Okay? I hope you see the difference here. I will never say it's haram, even if I'm extracting from the Quran some interpretation that makes me think it's haram. Because, again, the haram categories are specifically mentioned in the Quran. I can say it's wrong. I can say it's between me and God, but I find that I would never let my son get circumcised or anything like that. Okay? Plus, all in all, if we're just talking about male circumcision, I don't think, if you circumcise your son, you're going to hell automatically. Let's take it easy, okay? But anyway, my bottom line is, let's not innovate prohibitions. All the prohibited categories are mentioned in the Quran. And if you are understanding from the Quran that circumcision is haram, that is, make sure you preface it. You make a disclaimer that this is based off of my understanding. It's not specifically mentioned in the Quran, and it's between you and God. Okay? Drink break. My protein shake break. Any questions so far, guys? What about alcoholic beverages? I do have a video about alcohol. Okay. I have 2 videos about alcohol. Please see those. Okay. Okay. So that was my first thing about innovated prohibitions. Okay. Now let's talk about specifically the verses that were quoted. Okay. I have my awesome chicken scratch handwriting that I wrote down, okay? Now, those who are claiming that circumcision is haram or wrong or prohibited are often quoting primarily 2 verses, Surah 95 verse 4 and Surah 4 verse 119, okay? So let's break down each of these verses. Surah 95 verse 4, okay? In Arabic it reads, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ fi ahsani taqweem. Okay? Commonly translated as, we have created the human in the best design. Now, the claim about this verse that God has created the human in the best design, the claim is that God gave men foreskin, and cutting it off is obviously violating this best design. And I can see where you're coming with that. I can, absolutely. However, a natural question from any person that's listening to this argument objectively, the natural question that arises is, what about people that are born with certain birth defects? Okay? People people that are born with birth defects. The defect doesn't need to be life-threatening. There are defects that are cosmetic. Okay, they have no function. A person born with an extra digit right here, it serves no purpose. It's just there. It doesn't. I received a phone call. Sorry, guys. I received a phone call which interrupted this. What was the last thing you heard? I'm sorry. No response yet. Extra digit. Okay, birth defect. Okay, good. It serves no purpose. Okay. Okay, so some people are born with life-threatening birth defects that need human intervention to live. Other people are born with cosmetic birth defects, right? Like an extra digit that I was talking about. It's just there. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't hurt them, but it does nothing either. It's not an actual finger. It's just a digit. So the question that would come, that naturally arises from an argument that about this whole thing with circumcision, is it wrong to intervene with those people? Is it wrong to intervene for these types of defects? Okay. Now, an article that I was reading that was talking about how circumcision is haram was trying to address this question. What about people that are born with certain birth defects? And the author responded by saying, well, these people that are born with a birth defect are not part of God's blueprint. And I honestly had to giggle when they said God's blueprint. You see, to me, this type of response, and no offense, this type of response is a cop-out. It's a cop-out from an obvious logical flaw, because we cannot be selective in the way we are applying our interpretation of the verses. You see, to me, a person born with a birth defect is part of God's design, is part of God's blueprint. We cannot say that it's not. You know, what justifies that? Okay, just because everybody else has don't have cleft palates, but this guy does, well, you see, that's a problematic approach. And so to me, to say that when God says he created us in the best design, except for those people with birth defects, it means that God broke his promise according to this of this verse based off of your interpretation. Okay? So this is important to understand, that there's something wrong with the way we are quoting this verse. The problem is the way we're interpreting this verse. You see, the verse says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We have created the human in the best design. And obviously, God is not talking about, this is the way I understand this verse. God is not talking about the nitty-bitty details, how your nose is shaped, or how crooked your teeth are going to grow out to be, okay? Or your foreskin, or the shape of your earlobes. He's not talking about that. When God says he created the man in the best design, it indicates that us humans, generally speaking, the way we are designed is indeed unique. We are the only bipedal creatures on earth. Okay, we are on top of the food chain. We think, we have consciousness, we know right from wrong, we learn right from wrong. That's what makes us unique in comparison to all the animal and plant kingdom on earth. And this is where God says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. It's not referring to your foreskin, okay? It's referring to the general concept of the human being, okay? So this is how I understand it as far as this verse is concerned. Now, let's break this down a little bit more, okay? God says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا. We have created. We have the word created, which is khalaqa in Arabic. And when we examine the word khalaqa in the Quran, we see that it refers to both physical and qualitative things of the human being. The human being is physically created from dust and mud and water and so forth, right? Physical things. Then you have the khalaqa of the quality, okay? Like in the Quran, like in Surah 21, verse 37, God says that the human is created in a hurry. He's always wanting something very quickly, okay? That's a khalaqa, i.e. a quality. You're created in this quality, okay? That's how the natural human being is. He's always in a hurry. The human being is created weak, Surah 4, verse 28. The human being is created anxious, halu'a, okay? Surah 70, verse 19. So khalaqa can refer to a physical creation and also a qualitative creation, okay? Now, what's interesting is that if we read this verse, Surah 95, verse 4, it says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We have created the human in the best design. Then it says, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Then we have made him lowly of the lowlies. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Except for the ones who do good and righteousness. So if we read the context, we actually see that it seems that God is actually talking about the quality of the human and not necessarily the structure of the human. Because in verse 5, verse 6, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ, except for the ones who do good works and righteousness. Okay, I'm just translating off the fly here. So it seems like that God actually in this verse is actually talking about a quality of the human being. And even if we are interpreting it as a physical thing, it has no indication that it's referring to your foreskin or the ways certain things of your body are shaped or anything like that. He created us in the best design in the sense of the human being, of the way they are generally designed. Okay, that's all it is. It's nothing specific like the foreskin. What's interesting also, and this is just a theory of mine, is that in verse 4, okay, God uses the word taqweem, which is translated as design. We have created the human in the best taqweem. Taqweem, okay, comes from the root qawama. Qawama means to set something aright and maintain it that way, which may hint to a bipedal creature, because qama, with the Arabic word qama, refers to something that is standing up, okay? So to me, I mean, if you look at it physically, it seems to refer to, generally speaking, the physical aspect of the human, how he is created, okay? Not the nitty-bitty details. And it could also refer to, based off of the context, actually the quality of the human as taqweem, in the sense of living in the straight path, okay? So that's how I understand 95:4. Nothing to do with your foreskin, okay? Nothing to do with your foreskin. And I know this verse is often quoted by some folks, okay? So, any questions concerning Surah 95, verse 4? Hey, we're only speaking English or Arabic here, guys. None of that other stuff that you guys are speaking. I'm just joking. Okay. So, now that was for Surah 95, verse 4. Let's go to Surah 4, verse 119. I'm just joking, Adriana. You can speak whatever language you're speaking. Okay, so Surah 4 verse 119, which is an interesting verse, okay? In Surah 4 verse 119, we see the devil challenging God, okay? And telling him that I'm going to take a portion of your servants. And the devil says, وَلَأُضَلِّنَنَّهُمْ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. Okay? وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. I will command them and they will change the creation of God. Okay? That's what the devil says here. Now, this phrase is often quoted, and it is claimed that this phrase indicates that if you cut off the foreskin, you are changing the creation of God. This is the claim. But again, this type of claim is problematic, just as I presented for the other verse, Surah 95, verse 4. Where exactly do you draw the line concerning the changing of the creation of God, right? So for example, let me just give you an example. Children that are born with cleft palates, okay? This condition, okay, they are designed that way. God designed them that way. They are born that way, and people, they have cleft palates, right? They have part of their mouth is gone, okay? And this needs surgical intervention in order to live a normal and healthier life, okay? Is intervention the changing the design of God? Technically, yes, right? Technically, you are born that way. That's the design of God. And if you choose to change that, you are changing the design of God. Are you fulfilling what the devil is commanding here? I hope the answer is no. And so all the reasoning that I provided you before also applies to this particular verse. So now the question is, okay, I want you guys to read that phrase again. He says, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. I will command them, and they will change, and so they will change the creation of God. Now the question we really need to ask ourselves is this: what does the devil command? وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ. He will command them. What does the devil command? This is the question we really need to ask. And according to the Quran, the devil commands 4 things. This is what the devil commands. According to the Quran, in Surah 2, verse 169, the devil commands as-su' wal-fahsha' wa an taqulu 'ala Allahi ma la ta'lamun. As-su' is evil. Fahsha' is immorality. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, to say about God what you do not know. This is what the devil commands. Evil, immorality, and to say about God what you do not know. And then we also see in Surah 24, verse 21, al-munkar. He commands al-munkar, which is translated as vice. But more specifically, the word munkar indicates some type of denial, obvious denial of something. Okay? So, the devil commands 4 things: evil, immorality, vice, and to say about God what you do not know. This is what the devil commands. So, when he says, وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ, I will command them, he is commanding at least one of these 4 things. And then it says, فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ, so they will change the creation of God. So the result of this command, comprising of evil, vice, and so forth, these 4 things, the result is the change in the creation of God. So in order for us to understand what constitutes a change in the creation of God, it needs to fulfill one of those 4 things that the devil commands. That's what we really need to look at. Now, if you find that circumcision is for the purpose of doing that, to create evil and vice and immorality and all that, then okay. Okay, no problem. That's your conclusion about that. But for me, this verse, when you read it contextually, it's all revolving around idolatry. Okay? It's all revolving around idolatry. And so the idea is more geared toward doing something that's going to violate God's laws, which is also a type of idolatry, okay? And what's interesting also is that if you read this phrase again, the phrase says, وَلَأَمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ, I will command them, so they will change the creation of God. The verse does not say, I will command them to change the creation of God. I hope you can see the difference there. He says, I will command them, so they will change the creation of God, versus, I will command them to change the creation of God. This means that not every change in the creation of God falls under the command of the devil. Seedless watermelon, for example, very delicious and the most genius thing I've ever ate. It's a man-made fruit. It's a change in the creation of God from the original watermelon, which had actually huge seeds and very little flesh. Okay, and this is not the word. This watermelon is not for the purpose of creating evil or vice or immorality or anything of that sort. Okay, so that's the idea behind what the devil is commanding. Whatever this change of creation that you're going to see is going to is actually part of this change. Needs to be in concordance with what the devil is commanding. If it's not, then this change is normal. It's halal. It doesn't have any problems. And to give you an example is in the same verse, right? The verse says, وَلَأَمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلِيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ, I will command them, so they will cut or slit the ears of the cattle. Let me ask you this. Is slitting the ears of the cattle haram? The answer is no. It's only if the slit is made specifically to fulfill one of the devil's commands, which is evil, vice, immorality, and saying things about God that you do not know. That's what constitutes as fulfilling what the devil commands. So, I hope I'm not confusing you guys, but what I'm saying here is that what the devil commands to change so that they change the creation of God, whatever the change is, if it's for the purpose of fulfilling evil, vice, saying things about God what you do not know, or munkar, the denial, then and only then that's what fulfills the change of God. Okay, the change of God's creation. So to me, I don't see that circumcision applies here whatsoever. Yes, it's a horrible thing, but it's, as far as I know, as far as my tradition go, the traditions of that I know of regarding circumcision, it's not for the purpose of committing idolatry. Okay, it's not for the purpose of that. So, and I'm no way defending it. I'm just saying we are separating Quranic law versus science and versus how I feel about something. Okay, the Quran is silent about circumcision, male circumcision, that is. Silent about it, and even females, it's silent about it. We can view it as evil or whatever, but we can never say God says it's haram. Okay, so these verses do not indicate, for me at least, anything about circumcision, but rather something far more simple, okay, and far more obvious. And regarding the change in the creation of God, go to Surah 30, verse 30, okay? The Surah 30, verse 30. It says, so establish your face, your intentions, for the system of, I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, the system of bending out, okay, which is the Hanif, okay? The initiation of God that he initiated on the people. There is no exchange for the creation of God. That is the system that is upright, but most people do not know. Now, this verse talks about how the instinct of the oneness of God is part of his creation, okay? And we can see that also the devil, because he's advocating evil, immorality, vice, and to say things about God what you do not know, this indicates that the creation also, the khalq Allah, that the change in the creation, is not exclusive to just the physical creation, but also the quality of the human being as well. So this is how I understand these verses. I don't see that it has any merit regarding that this is somehow speaking of circumcision. Again, if you interpret that these verses are talking about circumcision, we need to acknowledge that the Quran does not specifically mention circumcision. And if you find that circumcision is haram according to the Quran, make sure that you preface that it's your understanding and it's between you and God, really. I personally I'm very fearful of saying things about God that I do not know. Okay, so I know the whole bunch of comments were coming out, and I made sure I didn't read them so that I don't get distracted, because then I'll have a dumb look on my face. I'll be talking and then I'll stop and just read. I watched myself a couple of times and I didn't like it. So, do you guys have any questions, comments about this particular topic or the verses that we talked about? And I think AD said something, Joseph, you are wrong, and Sunnism, something. That kind of caught my eye. But I'm not going to scroll up to see try to find it now. Okay, somebody's asking me about emails. Guys, I'm sorry, sometimes I cannot answer emails. I'm getting a lot of emails, a lot of comments and stuff like that. If it's too long, I probably won't be able to respond. But if it's, and if I don't know, I probably won't respond either. But I'll do my best, inshallah, to get to your emails as best as I can. Is the foreskin a defect? No, it's not. No, it's not a defect. But again, what categorizes a defect? Again, if God says that He designed us in the best design, then anything that comes out of a woman, a baby, whether there is a defect or not, is still the design of God. So I'm playing devil's advocate, okay? Because we're going by the same logic that is applied. Even, for example, your teeth, right? You grow up, your teeth are crooked. Is it haram to fix them? Okay? Is it haram to fix that? God designed it that way. I mean, there can be so many avenues we can get into to determine what constitutes a defect and not, or anything of that sort. I don't, Brother Noah, I think you've compared cutting foreskin and cutting hair or fingernails. Do you still think it's the same? No, foreskin and nails are definitely not the same, but what I can say, or I can argue, is that nails and hair are part of God's design. And so, again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. A person can argue that with validity that your hair and your nails are designed from God. Should you cut them? Okay? Should you cut them? And people say, "Oh, it's dead skin, the dead growth, blah blah blah." And so it's there's a lot of ways to argue about this. And I'm not saying go ahead that circumcision is okay. I'm not. What I'm saying is that we need to draw that line between calling it haram. Okay, we can say it's wrong. We don't like it, and I personally don't like it either. I disagree with it, but I'll never say it's haram. I'll never say that God says it's haram. Okay, the Quran is silent about it. Just like tattoos and piercings, okay, those things the Quran is silent about. They're not haram in of themselves, unless if they are for the purpose of fulfilling what the devil is commanding, as Surah 4 verse 119 shows. Hair can fall off your head. Okay, that's a natural process, right? So let it fall off. Don't cut it yourself. Let it fall off. You see, I don't want to we don't want to get into like all these details. You know, if you find that circumcision is haram, so be it, brother. Uh, it's perfectly fine. Okay, Ted. And if your hair falls out, is it okay to do a hair transplant? Good question. So it's so easy to create prohibited categories, and you would really be chasing your tail in that regards, because there. I mean, honestly, I can, because I've read the Quran many times. I can probably come up with a nice big list of haram things to mention. Okay. Is plastic surgery wrong? I'm not going to say yay or nay. I can't. Okay? I'm going to say nay, most likely, because the Quran, again, doesn't mention plastic surgery, which probably didn't exist back then. But again, I want you to read Surah 4, verse 119. Is the plastic surgery for the purpose of fulfilling what the devil is commanding? You see, some people, let me give you some examples. Forgive me if I got this wrong, but there was one time I was watching a documentary about a tribe. I think it was in Africa. Where they, or maybe the Amazons, one of those places. They basically carve out their teeth. They make them into the shape of alligators, I think, because they worshipped the alligator. That is what 4119 is talking about. You are changing the creation and design of God to fulfill what the devil is commanding you. Some people grow tattoos specifically. They get tattoos specifically to fulfill their gods with a lower G. Okay. There are tribes and religions that do these things. Yes, they change the creation of God specifically for the purpose of fulfilling some idolatrous practice. Okay? For me, some people, well, at least at this day and age where I live, people get their circumcisions not for religious practices, but because of hygiene. Okay? Because they think it's cleaner. And to some people, they will argue, yes, it's cleaner. It's easier to maintain that way for the men, right? So it has nothing to do with some idolatrous intent, but rather it is about just being hygienic and stuff like that. People grow their nails if it's for the purpose of fulfilling the devil's desires or doing some idolatrous practice. Then yes, growing your nails is considered haram. Do you see what I'm getting at? So we need to be able to distinguish between saying that this is haram or this is halal based off of just, hey, is plastic surgery haram? We can't just say yes or no. If it depends on your intent. Okay. Now, I agree with you guys, with some of you guys. In traditional Islam, watch this. In traditional Islam, they'll tell you getting circumcised is the sunnah. Okay, obviously, circumcision is a tradition that was carried from Jewish practices, and to me, that is also wrong. Okay, because you're again attributing lies to God. You're saying that God wants us to circumcise, even though the Quran doesn't say that, right? Again, the Quran is silent. All right. Dreadlocks are haram. I don't like dreadlocks. Okay. So, okay. I see your question about This is your 5th time posting. Is fixing your teeth bad? I'm not a mufti, so it's best to stop. Yeah, stop spamming. All right. So anyway, those are my thoughts concerning circumcision. Did you guys want to chat a little bit? I still have a few more minutes. Actually, I have about 10 minutes or so. Brother Yusuf, please talk about book and wisdom. What exactly do you want to know about book and wisdom? So I'm guessing that the question is more geared to traditional Islamic ideology, which is they say that the Quran and wisdom, because God does talk about al-kitab wal-hikmah, right? The book and the wisdom, al-hikmah. And they say the book obviously is the Quran, the hikmah is the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, which is completely wrong, okay? My computer is off right now, but there are a good number of verses in the Quran that talk about how the Quran itself is a book of wisdom. Okay, Al-Kitab al-Hakim. Okay, it's a Hakim, and there's also a passage in Surah 17. In Surah 17, which talks, which has a list of things that are prohibited, or God, starts talking about things that you should or should not do. And then at the end, God does say, that is from the wisdom that we inspired to you. Okay? Actually, let me see if I can pull it up right now. 0307. Go to Surah 17, verse 39, okay? I want you to read the passage, the verses before it, and God talks about a whole bunch of things. Let's see. And do not kill your children. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not kill any person. You shall not touch the orphan's money. You shall give full measure when you trade. You shall not accept any information unless you verify it. You shall not walk proudly on earth. All bad behavior is condemned by God. Then in Surah 17, verse 39, ذَلِكَ مِمَّا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ رَبُّكَ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ. That is some of the wisdom that God has inspired to you. Okay, so the wisdom, we can see that God here is talking to the prophet and telling him do's and don'ts. Then he tells him, these do's and don'ts are the hikmah, are the wisdom that that the Quran is talking about. Okay. Do you believe in miracles? Some Quran alone people reject miracles. I do believe in miracles, absolutely. It is the difference between faith and not faith. I have encountered some Quran alone followers who will try to somehow rationalize, or probably from a scientific perspective, about miracles. Right? Some have said that, like, for example, Moses, he did not split the sea. Okay, he did not split the sea. What it was is that maybe a dam broke, and it appeared that it engulfed the people, that there was split or something like that. Or even I've had a friend who told me that the whole thing with Jesus, he did not resurrect the dead, he did not heal the leprous or anything like that. Those are all just kind of like, what's the word? They're kind of like a symbolic, okay? They're more symbolic in that it didn't really happen, okay? Those types of claims I do not agree with at all. Allegorical, thank you. That's the word that was, or metaphor. That's the words I was looking for. Um, to me, they were literal. Okay, when Abraham was thrown into the fire, into a cool fire, I don't think there's any scientific way to explain that besides that it's actually a miracle. Okay, um, Noah's flood. Okay, some people, I interpret Noah's flood actually wasn't worldwide; it was a local flood. But yeah, I can see how some people will determine or will interpret it as a worldwide flood. Okay, so these miracles, absolutely, I do believe they are miracles. To me, it's what defines a believer. Okay, not to say that the other guys are not believers, not at all. But my interpretation is that no, I will take what I understand from the Quran as these events happened literally. Divine intervention happened literally. Just like how we cannot scientifically explain somebody receiving inspiration, a divine Quran, inspiration from God to read a Quran, today we'll just call them crazy, right? We'll just say, oh, he's cuckoo. But in reality, this is what distinguishes faith from someone who tries to brush everything off in a scientific way. Yeah. So somebody keeps asking about the whole thing of living in hell forever. Is there an impression that hell is not forever? I mean, because the impression, I mean, for me in the Quran, heaven and hell are forever. They are forever. And I know there are some verses, maybe one, I think one, where it's debatable as to what does God mean here. But to me, the Arabic word that is used, khalidina fiha abada. Khalidin means to everlasting. Fiha, in it, abada, forever. It doesn't end. So to me, yes, hell and heaven are everlasting. Um, what's interesting also is that, and this is more of like I guess, a spiritual thing. We humans have a natural tendency to, our minds have a natural tendency to think in the future, think in the past, and a lot of times we live in those moments. But in heaven, okay, heaven, everlasting heaven, right? The way I perceive it is that none of that is going to exist. There won't be like your future or your past or anything like that. It's just ever presence, existence. There's no moment outside of the past or the future. Okay, it's quite interesting to kind of try to perceive how these things are. We really don't know, but the way I see it is because in the hereafter, you are living forever, right? You are forever. So if you are living forever, if you have a sense of time when you live forever, that would suck. That would suck so bad, right? It would be horrible if you have a sense of time and you live forever. It's like a vampire, right? So to me, it makes far more sense that in paradise, where things are everlasting, you have no sense of time, okay? Because time is the enemy of the present moment, okay? And what's interesting, sorry, I'm gonna just rant. What's interesting is that in the Quran, like in Surah, I think it's Surah 2, the devil says, I will come to them from their right and their left and from between their hands and from their backs. Okay? Please quote the verse. I don't have it on me right now. And to me, these are expressions. The devil coming from your right it indicates your power, your powerful side, okay? The side that you are strong. He'll come from your strength. Your left, he'll come from your weakness, okay? He'll come from your weakness, okay? And he'll come to you in your future, and he'll come to you in your past, okay? All in here. So it's amazing to kind of look in, like, see how that is. And the devil will do this on earth. So in paradise, none of that is going to happen. He's not going to suck you away from the present moment, which is quite interesting. Mr. J, I don't have an answer to your question, brother. 2 female witnesses needed, but only 1 man is needed. To me, I mean, I really don't have an explanation, right? Does that mean women are lesser witnesses? No. The verse already explains why it's using 2 women versus 1. But other than that, I don't think there's a need to further try to justify it. But I think it's a very good question, and hopefully if somebody here has an answer, go ahead. If not, inshallah, you know, once I get a chance to look it over, inshallah, I will see if I can find something. No, Ashik, can people live in hell for a few days and go to heaven? Who live in hell? Okay, so this is a common traditional thought that people will suffer in hell for a while and then go to heaven, pay off their sins and go to heaven. But the Quran is pretty clear. The Quran is pretty clear that anybody that enters heaven or hell will stay there forever. Surah 3 verse 24. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارِ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. That is because they said that hell will not touch us except for a few days. So it's obvious that the Quran actually repeats this a couple of times throughout. And if you go to hell, you'll stay there forever. If you go to heaven, you'll stay there forever. On Judgment Day, it's basically you have the weigh scale. Right? You have the weigh scale, and it's going, if your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, the bad deeds are gone, you go to heaven. And the opposite is true. If your bad deeds outweigh your good deeds, then you'll go to hell, right? But God is very generous, by the way. There is a verse in the Quran that talks about how your good deeds outweigh 10 of your bad deeds. Basically, buy one get 10 free, right? I was gonna say something else in that regard, but I forgot. Is it lawful to enact a death penalty on someone? It is lawful under very strict conditions. I did make a video about that, and I forgot the title of the video. I think capital punishment. Yeah, capital punishment. Please see that video. Mr. Massoud. Oh my gosh, now I feel so guilty. My gosh. Oh yeah, you sent me an email a while ago. And I promised you I'm sorry. Inshallah, once I have the time, I will, brother. I apologize. Wow, Mr. Yusha, defending Massoud. What's your opinion on marijuana? Why do you smoke it? You like to get high? With marijuana, really any, I'm not going to say any drug, but basically people, the hypocrisy really with people that say alcohol, marijuana, these things are haram, and yet they'll go off and abuse medications, you know, sleeping pills and all this stuff. I would say personally, with anything that alters the mind, you want to take extreme caution. And I do recommend you watch my video about alcohol. I did talk about that, and the same principles apply pretty much to anything that alters the mind, any type of intoxicant, okay? Is the earth flat and motionless? Are the governments of the world no. No. I still find it interesting this whole flat earth thing is still coming around. No, well, please see my video about flat earth. I have a couple of those. Rashad Khalifa. What do you think about Rashad Khalifa's claim that 2 ayats are not part of the Quran? I think he is wrong. Big time wrong. What's your thoughts on the word iqra? Qara'a. The word qara'a basically does not, the common understanding is that it means to read something. But the reading, even in English, we use the word read, does not necessitate reading letters or words. Reading is basically the word iqra is basically the process of perceiving something and receiving the information for it. Okay, that's qara'a, is perceiving something and taking the information for it. And many times in the Quran, it does refer to physically reading something. But also, for example, the word quru was mentioned in the Quran, where a woman is to read her menstrual cycles. Okay, so God uses the word quru, talat quru, 3 quru. Okay, so that's my understanding of the word qara. Okay. All right. Okay, so there's bombardments of questions. Um, so here's a question. If the word ummi means Gentile, then how can Muhammad be a Gentile for the Arabs? Muhammad was, I guess we need to define what a Gentile is. I mean, as far as at least my definition of the Gentiles are those who do not know the previous scriptures. And non-Jew, Noah? Yes. And so, but in the sense of Prophet Muhammad, he was an ummi, which signifies that he is a man that was he did not know the previous scriptures. It doesn't mean that he was an illiterate man. He was a non-previous scripture fella, a non-Israelite. So, all right. Well, it's been 65 minutes. And I think Hanif is, it's been 65 minutes. I'm going to go for another 10 minutes, inshallah. And then we'll end it there. I know I personally don't sit around watching videos for 65 minutes. I'm glad you guys are still sticking around. Someone asked a question here earlier. I missed it. I didn't get bored. Okay. I think, oh, this is Brother Noah. I think Hanif also means Gentile or pagan. The way I understand Hanif, and I really need to look more into it, is that Hanif is a thing that bends. That's why in Arabic, even in modern Arabic, we call a faucet Hanafiya, because it's bent and it pours the water. And in the Quran, Prophet Abraham was a Hanif, and always, every time it says Hanif, it's accompanied with the word like non-mushrik. Okay, he's a devout Muslim to God, and so this indicates that he was a Hanif. He bent his way. He had a bent out belief system from the idolatrous community that he was with. So he was not an idolater. Or it could mean that he bent towards the idea or the notion of the oneness or monotheism of God. Someone prays in the direction of Petra? Okay. What is your opinion about sab'an min al-mathani? Masud, brother, you gotta write it in Arabic, man. I'm just joking. Because I had a hard time understanding, like, well, he wrote it in English, but I don't understand it. Okay, sab'an min al-mathani. I don't know, to be honest. Because the verse says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ وَالْقُرْآنِ الْعَظِيمِ. Okay, 7 of the Mathani and the glorious Quran. Okay, سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ, 7 from the Mathani. Now, people say it's the Fatiha, okay, because it's 7 verses. I personally disagree with that, because the verse says, سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ وَالْقُرْآنِ, 7 of these and the Quran. And the Fatiha is part of the Quran, okay? Others have said it's the Quranic initials, okay? 7 pairs of the Quranic initials, which may have some validity. But I personally don't know, because the impression that I get when I read it, سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ, 7 of the Mathani. The word Mathani means the thing that bends over something, and basically it's the section where it bends. It's the section that bends onto something else. Okay, that folds over something. So the verse says sab'an min al-mathani, 7 from the. It means that there's more than 7. There's more than 7, because the verse doesn't say sab'a al-mathani, as-sab'a al-mathani, the 7 mathanis. It says sab'an min al-mathani, 7 from the Mathani, which means that there are more than 7, but God gave the Prophet 7 from those. Okay? So I personally don't know what it refers to. If anybody has any thoughts, go ahead. Hamza Abdul Malik is the best Quran. He's very eloquent. Yes, I agree with that. Okay, so I see. Yeah, actually, Hamza Abdul Malik was. Um, I enjoyed watching his transition. Because I've seen some of his older videos. He was a very traditional Muslim, and then he kind of gradually stepped out and started questioning things and stuff like that. It was enjoyable to see him transition to that, and because he's very eloquent, he did a wonderful job with those things. And he was actually one of the catalysts for my research about the Salah topic. Um, he doesn't understand Arabic very well, but amazingly, he departed the thought, even the correct, even without knowing it's amazing, even without knowing the Arabic language, he was able to decipher and break out of the traditional ideology of what Salah is just by reading the English translation of the Quran. So yeah, it was very good. Yeah. Now, I personally don't agree with him on every aspect of things, but of course, that's not, nobody's going to agree with everybody at 100%. That's not going to happen. So, I keep saying I'm going to leave, but I'm really enjoying my time. Is it lawful to name someone after a pagan god? Yes, it's very lawful. Would it be odd? Yes, it would be odd. I just think that there's no such thing as a Islamic name. You know, I came from a traditional background from Jordan, and it's amazing that you can tell by because in Jordan there's a lot of Muslims and Christians, and you can tell just by the name that this person is Christian or this person is Muslim, and there's no such thing as an Islamic name or a Muslim name. Names are names, and even the Quran talks about how if you adopt someone into your family, no matter what their name is, you need to stick with that name. Okay, even if you don't like it, you need to stick with that name, that the name that their parents gave them. Okay, that's what the Quran talks about in regards to names. I don't know any karate Jews. I don't know what those are, sorry. It was just a bad joke, I guess. What made you leave Sunni Islam? I did not leave Sunni Islam. I would say I don't like using these types of terminologies like leave, convert, revert, stuff like that. It's just I grew up Sunni, and I would say that at one point I became very religious as a Sunni, and I don't know what happened. Just throughout my life, a lot of things did not sit right. You know, I've had a friend who was a traditional Muslim at that time. Once upon a time, he told me, do not speak in the bathroom. It's haram. Speaking in the bathroom is haram. Why? I told him. He goes, well, because you have two angels here. And when you enter a filthy place like the bathroom, they stay outside. But if you talk, they need to record what you're saying. So they'll have to come in, and then you'll make them dirty. And I go, wow, to me, that was like the craziest thing I've ever heard, right? And I remember in one of my classes, in my religion classes, our teacher said, don't spill water when you get up at night. Okay, if you get up at night to drink some water, make sure you don't spill it. And if you do, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Because if you don't say Bismillah and you dropped water, your qareen, your devil companion will appear to you. And I was in 6th grade, dude. So I was freaked out. I didn't even drink water at night for a long time. And of course, the general ideology, attributing a whole bunch of things about the Prophet. And of course, when you start reading the Quran with a fresh pair of eyes, things will start becoming far, far simpler for you. I did talk about my background in the first live stream, so I encourage you guys to check it out if you want to learn about me. Should Muslims vote for Trump? Politics. It's up to you, man. You can vote for whoever you want. It's not haram. How is Jesus the word of God in the Quran? Well, just like many other prophets, they are the word of God. Well, to be more specific, messengers are the word of God. I do think that with Jesus, it was more of a stronger exception, perhaps, if that's the right wording. Basically, with Prophet Jesus, he was supported by the Spirit, since childbirth, even maybe before that. That's why he was able to speak from the crib, for example. And so being able to do these things, to resurrect the dead and all that, he was supported by the Spirit. Okay? So that's why God called him Kalimatullah. He was the word of God. And I think that's where the whole notion that Jesus is God incarnate happened. Because people are saying, whoa, this guy can resurrect the dead. He blew into a bird and it flew away. He must be God. That's the thought process there. And so that's probably where this whole notion of Jesus is God came from. And yet the Quran talks about that. But I find it interesting. I do believe there are a couple of other verses that talk about another prophet, and God says that these prophets are the word of God. I think Yahya in Surah 19. Let me see if I can find it for you. What's Yahya in English? Is it Jonah? Yahya, John. Yohanna. Inshallah, I can't find the verse right now, but inshallah, I will find it and I'll post it for you. That was in Surah 19. Now it's bothering me. Or was it Zechariah? Anyway, so that's how I understand Jesus, peace be upon him. Mary was a virgin. Is the ruh in the Quran the same as the Holy Spirit in the Bible? I find that the concept of ruh in the Quran, um, not depends on Holy Spirit. There is the ruh, basically the word ruh and rih. These roots indicate some type of a medium that carries something. Okay, this is why in Arabic we call wind as rih. Okay, rih, and a smell, it's called rih also, because it's the medium that carries something else. And so when we put that into perspective with the ruh that is mentioned in the Quran, it indicates that there's some type of medium, and this medium connects you with the divine. So that's how I see. There's also the word ruh. If you go to, hold on one second. Let me see if I can look this up really quick. See, I have you on my phone, not on my laptop, because the camera for the laptop is really bad. You guys want to see my beautiful face. All right, if you go to, I believe it's in Surah 57. You know, when I'm put on the spot, I can no longer look up the verses. Now you guys are watching me. This is almost embarrassing. Okay. Well, I can't find the verse, but there is a verse. It's in the later verses, like in the 50s, I believe, that talks about how those who believe in God, they will receive ruh from him. Okay, they will receive a ruh from him. And so this ruh is not, obviously it's not the Holy Spirit, but it's a type of medium that is between you and God. So that's how I see that the word ruh. Okay. Oh, found it. Surah 58, verse 22. Bam, gotcha. 58, 22. أولئك كتب في قلوبهم الإيمان وأيدهم بروح منه. Check it out. Surah 58, verse 22. Okay, so now I'm getting tired. Are the footprints of Abraham in the New Mecca in the southern Saudi Arabia really his? No. They are definitely not his, my man. All right. Okay, guys. So well, Mr. Sajid Hussein, should we not be trying to find out how the Prophet lived his life from history? You can, absolutely. However, we should not be blindsided by what the Quran actually says. The Quran, actually, if we really read the Quran, and I was actually thinking of doing a video about this, the Sunnah, the true Sunnah of the Prophet, that is the way he lived his life, according to the Quran. And I'm not talking about how he went to the bathroom or anything of that nature, but I'm talking about basic things that the Prophet did during his life that are clearly evident in the Quran, and the way he behaved, the way he interacted with people, and the things that he said, and those are all very clear in the Quran. Okay, I think that would be a very good thing to have. I do have a friend who actually wrote a nice lengthy article about this, and I was actually thinking of transforming it into a video, inshallah, and show you guys how the Sunnah of the Prophet is according to the Quran. Actually, I was thinking of actually bringing him as a guest on this channel, because he did study Sharia. He studied Sharia during his his college years, and he's very familiar with the Quran, the Quranic narratives, and he's a Quran alone follower. And so a lot of the things that he knows is based off of Islamic background. Unlike myself, I did not study Sharia. I know very little of it, but I studied the Quran. So, who married me? Oh, she married Joseph? Who married? I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Oh, Maryam. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so let's take one last question, and inshallah, I will be leaving. So do you guys think I should post this live stream on or no? Or in regards to, at least to the topic about circumcision. I know we left that topic about half an hour ago. What is your favorite food? How do you pronounce your name? Yusha? What is my favorite food? As long as it's edible, it's delicious, and that's all I care about. My favorite food is fasulya. Do you know what fasulya is? If you're Turkish, you should know what fasulya is. Is it alcohol? No, this is not alcohol. Yeah, it's a wine glass, but it's just water. I'm being judged right now. I'll send you some. Wait, you don't want coronavirus, do you? From my drink? So, are you guys doing okay with this whole coronavirus thing? Coronavirus is a hoax. I do have my opinions about it as well. And I'm not a conspiratorial type of person, but I don't want to mix my personal opinions with this channel. You look Turkish. I can say nasalsın and aşkım and all the Arabic Turkish words that are similar, like fasulya. But no, I'm not Turkish. Ederim, Tashuker Adirim. Only because it sounds Arabic also. So, yeah, I'm not trying to be politically. Oh, there's fasulya and there's shorba. You guys say shorba too in Turkish? Yeah. Yeah, but no, I am Arab. I am Arab. Jordanian, Palestinian. Some people say my my Arabic accent. Don't know where my Arabic accent is, or my dialect, I should say. Not the accent, but dialect. I have a Jordanian Palestinian dialect because that's where I'm from. Yeah, there's a lot of light-colored Jordanian Palestinians. Safa wal Marwa. Okay. So the words Safa and Marwa are quite interesting. Now, I'm still exploring the whole topic of Hajj. But the way I understand that, well, the ultimate purpose of Hajj is to basically there's commerce, there's a meeting of commerce, and then there is the sacrifice of the animals to feed the poor. And Hajj is primarily oriented to these things. Now, Safa wa Marwa, mentioned in the Quran, seem to be geared more towards the type of cattle that are being used for the sacrifices and for feeding the poor. The word Safa, Inna Safa wal Marwa min sha'air Allah. Okay, so the Arabic says the Safa and the Marwa are from sha'air Allah. Sha'air Allah, I don't have a translation in my head right now, but Sha'air Allah refers to basically the sacrifices of these livestock. So God says that Safa and Marwa are from these sacrifices of livestock. The word Safa indicates that the word Safa means the word Safa means to, it's like picking something that you like, or picking something from a whole bunch of things. Okay, Inna Allah astafa Adama. God has chosen Adam. He is Stafa Adama. Okay, so the Safa means that you are choosing something. So you have a bunch of cattle. You are choosing from them. Okay, you're choosing the one that you want. And the Marwa is the type of Marwa is a type of lighting that you, the rocks that you use to make a light or a fire, okay? So it seems to indicate you're maybe cooking the meat, I don't know, something along those lines. And then the verse says, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمْ أَن يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا. Okay? So, يَطَّوَّفَ بِهِمَا. Okay, so it's saying the Safa and the Marwa, the choosing and the cooking, what for now, the choosing and the cooking, you are to tawafa bihima. Okay, tawafa bihim. Tawafa does not mean to go in and around or inside, or as they interpret it. But that the tawafa means to walk through. Tawafa bihima, walk through with them. Okay, فَلَا جُنَاحَ طَوَّفَ بِهِمَا indicates that you are taking the thing that you chose, okay, and you want to cook it or sacrifice it, that you are walking around with it. It doesn't mean that you're going between two mountains as they interpret it. The verse doesn't say بَيْنِهِمَا, between them, to do tawaf between them. It says bihima, with them. So you're taking those foods with them. So, Well, I did a video about Surah 3, verse 7. I don't know if that was elaborate enough, but yeah. So, anyway, oh my gosh, 95 minutes. Guys, okay, I'm going to go now. And I'm glad you guys stuck around. Well, some Arabs look white, but it doesn't make them Aryan. Well, if you want to be specific, you know, the other day I did the heritage analysis thing, and I'm mostly Middle Eastern. I'm mostly Middle Eastern and West Asian. Okay, West Asian, like yeah, the Turks, but I do have a lot of like Chechnyan and Circumcision blood, which is the Muslim Russians back in my family, like extended family. And so that's where the whiteness is coming from. And I have 1% Nigerian, 1%. So I have some black in me too. So anyway, glad you guys stuck around for this long. God bless you. Once again, I love you so much. You guys are amazing. Honestly, there was there was a once upon a time where I was gonna shut down the channel just because it's, for me, I feel like sometimes that I don't want to be the guy that people just look for guidance. I don't want to be that at all. Um, I'm gonna have a heartfelt conversation with you really quick. I don't want to be that guy, and I want to make sure that you don't perceive me to be that guy either. Um, I am a student of the Quran just like you, and we are helping one another. Believe it or not, I do read your comments. I do take them into consideration because I'm not here to be any guy to be any type of preacher. I'm not interested in that. That's not me. I'm more of the student of the Quran, just like you. I want to make sure that's emphasized. So I will listen to you. I will take things that you say into consideration. I evaluate things also. So I just want to make sure that that's in the clear, okay? And sometimes some people will tell me, "Oh, you know, I stopped praying because of you." Why? Don't stop praying because of me, okay? Um, I encourage people to make sure that they study the Quran for themselves. Whatever I say is my understanding. I want you to do the same thing. I want you to do your due diligence and read the Quran for yourself. And we are here together, okay? I'm not here to be Mr. Preachy. I don't care about that. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page in that regards, okay? So, anyway, God bless you guys, and inshallah, I'm gonna try to come up a few more, you know, whenever I can, inshallah. And I know this was very spontaneous and random of me. I didn't even give you guys a heads up. But inshallah, my next thing that I'm gonna be doing, maybe tomorrow, is an official video in Arabic addressing the 5 most common verses that are often quoted by traditionalists, in which it is claimed that we can follow things outside of the Quran. Okay, and inshallah, I don't have, at this time, things are a little bumpy at home, and I want to, inshallah, once things settle down, I'm going to start working on some other projects with a PowerPoint presentation. So anyway, God bless you. Yes, I'll be definitely be putting subtitles for the non-Arabic speakers, definitely. Okay. Yes, people are losing their jobs, unfortunately, but inshallah, you know, humanity has survived things like these. So inshallah, I'll pray that God always protects all of us and keeps us safe and provides for us. God bless you guys. Take care. Salam.